can feel a little daunting seeing other people and thinking, wow, they have a lot. How do they do it? If you immerse yourself in communities, you can go from wondering to actually asking. There's a lot of people at that stage that's willing to provide advice and willing to help.
Hey nerds, Monica here. Welcome to the Data Podcast for Nerds, where we get to talk to amazing professionals and ask them all about how they're using data to solve the world's problems. We always include fun bits, and we're always highlighting the wonderful things that everyone is doing with data. Today with us, we have Kedeisha Bryan. How are you doing today?
I'm great, Monica. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you for coming on the show. So we typically start our episodes off by understanding people's origin stories. So if you could please tell us about your background and how you got to where you are today in your career.
Okay, yeah. So I'll probably go back to the first time I was in college. I did 4 years in college. Didn't really know what I wanted to do. I ended up actually flunking out after 4 years and didn't have that much option. So I joined the Navy, did a deployment. And when I got out, my main priority was to go back and finish my degree. I also was hopefully looking forward to six-figure jobs waiting for me. That was not the case. So I was relegated to just working at Domino's, making pizzas, working in a warehouse, and then I delivered Amazon packages for a good bit too. Eventually, I looked up data analytics after speaking to a professor at school. So I actually just looked up on like Reddit posts what are the tools to learn to become a data analyst. So it was, I think, Tableau, SQL, Excel. And so I taught myself that for a summer. And from there, I was just very interested in just upskilling from there. Like I would just want to learn things on my free time and then incorporate them to my stuff at work. I found myself in communities. And that's where things really took off for me because I was able to experience in these knowledge sharing and experience sharing with people, with those of us who were at like different levels. It was really cool to see people from, ahead of you, just, excited to just teach people behind, and also just getting feedback and guidance on your work for free, pretty much. And through that, I started doing coffee chats at least once a week. I would reach out to people with a similar background to mine on LinkedIn, and I ended up doing coffee chats like, at least once or twice a week. But through that, I actually built a very extensive network behind the scenes. And this was way before I was even posting anything. And I wanted to build something that also was kind of the same thing, but also um, filled some voids that I see in terms of like those of us who self-teach ourselves. There's a lot of pitfalls, right? So we start off with, courses, free stuff. But then there gets a point where after we get the fundamentals, how do we kind of like move on to more practical stuff? How do we, you know, actually know our blind spots? And there was a void there because usually you'd probably have to look at a boot camp. Mm-hmm. And doing research on boot camps, it's interesting finding there's boot camps charging like $8,000, $20,000 just for students to watch data camp and Udacity videos. Mm-hmm. I just think that's egregious. So I really want to build a better, more personalized skill development platform and safe space for people to pretty much get to where they are now to where they want to be faster and without breaking the bank, without spending, a down payment on a house pretty much.
Yeah. So I'm curious, going back to what you mentioned in your origin story, you said that you worked at Domino's Pizza, right? Is that where you first got interested in data analytics? Because I know this is a very odd question, but they have that really cool platform now that like tracks all of the process of your pizza. And I've always been interested in like the machine learning behind that whole algorithm, and was curious if you had experienced that while you were there.
Looking back, no. I wasn't even thinking about data at the time.
Okay.
And I can't even remember how that was even updated when I think about it. But no,
Yeah.
it wasn't there. But when I was working at Amazon, delivering Amazon packages, I was actually interested in like supply chain analytics.
Okay.
Yeah, and then even when I worked at a warehouse, but I didn't really, I wasn't able to like get that insight while I was there.
That's really interesting. I feel like Domino's as a company, or as like a pizza company, they're way far ahead of the game. They have Waymo cars now, or whatever version of the AI cars are that are delivering your pizza now. So they're beyond.
Wait, the self-driving ones?
Yes, yes. So Domino's has these AI cars, the self-driving cars that will deliver you the pizza. The window rolls down, the pizza shoots out.
Wow, I had no idea that was happening. I haven't seen any
Absolutely.
over here. I'm curious where I gotta look that up, actually.
Yeah. I'm not sure where I saw the videos, something on Instagram that I saw, and I was just like, wow, they are ahead of the game by far with all the pizza companies. But I know for also Amazon, they've been talking a lot forever about the drones, like delivering packages with drones. I have not seen anything pick up in that space. Did you experience that at all while you were at Amazon?
No, when I was there, it was like it was like talks of it. And I
Okay.
remember there were even talks of, and I actually saw a prototype in a video of uh literally like a robot delivering to the front door. I don't know if that's like with the drone or not, but I saw that. And what's interesting is that even just today, I saw it looks like Amazon is expanded the robots in their warehouses. Uh, so it's really interesting how these advancements are coming along and really almost, I guess, replacing almost labor, hard labor. It's it's quite interesting because it's going by pretty fast.
Yeah, that's true. I could see it replacing the hard labor. However, there still has to be the oversight and
Yeah.
monitoring of that hard labor, right? So robots are not going to take our jobs per se, just kind of take the hard jobs from us, the ones that we don't want to do.
That makes sense, especially like we're coming up to peak season. I don't know if that's the term outside, but working in the warehouse like Amazon, that's where you're expected to your packages per day increases. You expect to work longer hours. Overtime is going to be a thing, and they usually hire a lot more workers at this time, almost like temporarily. And so it's curious to see how these robots are going to over time, how that will be affected, especially during these higher peak times, because people complain about, the stress and all this stuff that's happening. And Amazon doesn't really have that great of a reputation when it comes to addressing that. So it's pretty interesting how that's going to come about.
That's a good point. And you mean peak times because of the holidays, right?
Correct. Peak times of
Yeah.
holidays, people ordering different packages last minute. I remember delivering packages on Christmas Eve. So yeah.
Yikes. Yeah. That's interesting problems to solve. Speaking of solving problems, what are your favorite problems to solve using data?
Ooh, I like anything that deals with process improvement. So I studied engineering technology in school, learning about the different ways to evaluate a process. And that's also where I got some data analytics as well. So being able to like analyze a process, find the steps that's not really adding value, that's actually where there's waste and things like that. And using data to spot those areas of improvement and really providing something where, we want something increased or there's an issue here, and using data to find that root cause, and showcasing that in a dashboard, providing an application that can be used to, help monitor. And I really also enjoy like presenting my work at the end in like a slide deck in front of like the decision makers and say, hey, this is what I found, or this is what the mission was. This is my recommendations, and here's like a deliverable, like an app or a dashboard or something like that. So I actually really like the data problems that's closer to the business, to the decision makers, to the business strategy, as opposed to some people who just don't really like that stuff. They probably like the more. There's some people who like doing more like infrastructure things like that. I really like the more problems on the front end that can really impact like a policy change. Those are the ones that I really enjoy.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense, because I feel like that's exactly what you're doing with your data in motion, is you're trying to improve the process for people to get a data career, right?
Exactly. I want people to get there faster, with less headaches, and not spend so much money.
Can you please describe what is data in motion, and also give us a secondary origin story? So what is data in motion?
So Data in Motion started off as just a Discord. We still have our Discord, still pretty active, but me being such a process improvement person, there's only so much I can do as just a user, as a member of a community, versus someone who actually runs their own community. So there are so many things that I was like, I wish we could do this. I wish we can do that. And so rather than try to step on people's toes, I just went ahead and created my own one. And it was interesting. I first started by just like personally inviting people in my network through LinkedIn, like literally just sent like DMs to people. I remember when we crossed like 100 people. And from there, I thought of, okay, how can I provide a great learning experience for people? And so I actually started off doing these weekly challenges. And what I did was I was like, let me curate free resources, and just provide, challenges to people. Like they're usually set up in a way where you can use them like when you're trying to like prepare for an interview. So I thought it was interesting to set it up in a way where you kind of show it like, hey, here's a new thing every week. Because one thing I also learned too is that we can also overwhelm ourselves if we don't really understand how to do personal projects, how to upskill while working our full-time jobs, while having families. It can get pretty overwhelming. So kind of designing what I learned was actually there's kind of like two different types of projects that you can do on your personal time. There's projects to learn, and then there's projects to showcase. The showcase projects are your portfolio projects. And when you talk about portfolio project, something where you have like a good write-up, you spent a lot of time on the write-up, and it can be like something that to resemble a full-blown project that you would expect at work. But the thing is that what I've learned is that sometimes we try every single personal project and we end up not finishing them, or we end up like pausing and probably do something else. It's really a waste of, I don't say waste of time, but like it's not efficient. And so sometimes where maybe you only have like 30 minutes and 3 times a week, how do you incorporate upskilling that doesn't take that much time, but you're still learning? And so I saw that, and I knew eventually I was going to have to create my own weekly challenges. And so I wanted to develop a way to upskill that is more focused projects, and also focus on maybe some edge cases that you would like normally see at work that probably gets overlooked in courses and stuff like that. But I wanted to present some like bite-sized challenges each week that you can choose from, where you can learn something, you get exposed to some new things, and also nurture the skills that you already know. And it's in less time. You don't have to spend 10 hours or something like that on it, and then you still learn. So that was a big thing that I learned, and now we created a paid membership, the academy, where I want to focus on personalized skill development. It's interesting creating something in this space because there's so many options. And so how do you differentiate? And as I was mentioning earlier, I want to create a better option than $8,000, $15,000, $20,000 boot camp where you're just watching data camp Udacity videos. I don't think that's a good, if you're going to spend $20,000, not there. I don't think that's a good way of your money. So I wanted to design a way to upskill, personalize that helped me accelerate. And that's really through mentorship, projects, and community. And so I just launched actually a tier where you can get 2 private coaching sessions a month on top of all the pro community features that we have, like the live sessions, community feedback, all that stuff.
That's awesome. And you just recently launched the Academy in September, is that correct?
I did, yeah.
Okay.
Just launched in September.
You mentioned that you're working on a new kind of addition to that Academy. What was that?
Yeah, so one thing is, like, right now, the job market it's not the best. Let's say that. I feel like when I talk to people, the people who I think has probably had the best of luck are those who have been leveraging their network. But if you haven't been doing that up until this time, and you're just relying on just applying and applying, it's just very difficult to get noticed, especially with all these new AI generated job search tools, resume builders. It's just very difficult to get noticed. So I wanted to set up a regular, maybe like once every quarter, show and tell for my students, for the Academy students, to just present a project that they've been working on. It can be one of our projects. It can be a project a personal project, but something where they build something, whether it's a really nice dashboard, they build like an app in Streamlit, whatever it is, and they present it. They present who they are, and they present their skills. And I want to leverage my network and my reach on LinkedIn to do it on LinkedIn Live, where hiring managers, recruiters, everyone can see it. And it's a great way that the students can really not only showcase their skills, but really build their network. And because I think that's going to be a good opportunity for visibility, and that can just like lead to so many things. I just want to be able to use the Academy eventually as a way to connect Academy members to job opportunities, and especially provide ways that Academy members can I don't want to say like skip the line, but they can kind of they have the opportunity to showcase their skills where they can kind of get an interview a lot easier. Because a side note, what's interesting is that I actually spoke to a hiring manager the other day. She's been in my Discord. I didn't know she was in my Discord, but she was so surprised at the diverse backgrounds of like everyone in there. It's like I don't think she realized there was like a huge, population of us who were like career switchers, teachers and everything else trying to get these data jobs. Because it's interesting because those aren't the types of profiles coming through like the ATS. So I feel like if I can find a way that can help career switchers who, for whatever reason, are not getting through ATS, showcase their skills in a way that can get them the opportunities that they deserve, really. Because I think if you don't have a network and you're just applying, 1,000, 20,000 jobs a year, I mean, it's really tough.
Yeah, I found networking is definitely key to all of the jobs that I've ever gotten as well. So it's huge. And what a good opportunity for the recruiters to be in your Discord as well.
Yeah, I didn't realize how many are in there, to be honest. It's interesting how many people go in there and you end up saying, yeah, I've been in your Discord. I had no idea.
And I think that's really neat too, about how many teachers have been transferring and trying to get into the data field.
A lot, actually. I'm not surprised. We know that they're brilliant, and the pay is probably a lot better. The work is a lot better. It's just, but yeah, it's interesting, the different backgrounds. But I would say teachers have been like the largest that I've noticed.
Yeah, me too. Which is really good because they have a lot of skills that you can leverage in the data profession, and teaching being one of them, right? We have to educate all of our stakeholders on the insights that we're finding. So therefore, teachers are like perfectly set up for this field.
They're perfectly set up. And with that, I think what's important, and not even just teachers, but I tell people, like, when you're coming in, like, people like to say that I don't have experience. But you've been teaching for 5, 10, 20 years. You have a lot of experience. And I just saw actually a YouTube video where some study was studying like the most important factors in when you're getting assessed in a job interview. I believe it was like 71% was on your work experience, your past experience. And then the next one was your skill assessment. So like a take-home assignment or things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So especially when you're a teacher or any other ones, I think the ability to like tell your story very well, translate that story of your experience of teaching people, breaking down complex problems in a simple manner, presenting all the time, presenting complex things.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's super important because it lets people know that, oh, you didn't just, you're more than just someone who just started learning SQL and Excel 3 months ago. You have the problem solving skills and you have the brain, like you have the approach, and you've been doing it very well in a long time. And I think that's probably like one of the biggest hurdles, no matter their backgrounds. I don't think they give their past experiences enough credit, and that can kind of hurt them. I think that can really hurt them.
Absolutely, yeah. Are there any other final words of encouragement or recommendations that you have for the listeners?
I would say, for one, if you're thinking of a boot camp, please spend 3 months at least teaching yourself before you ever think about investing in anything. Not even just like my platform, but do a lot of research and ask a lot of good questions. Ask if you're just going to be learning from data camp, because that costs like less than $300. I would say really immerse yourself in communities. You really want to get feedback and guidance on your work. You want to get inspiration on your work. It can feel a little daunting seeing other people and thinking, wow, they have a lot. How do they do it? If you immerse yourself in communities, you can go from wondering to actually asking, because there's a lot of people at that stage that's willing to provide advice and willing to help. And also, try to invest in mentors. It saves you a lot. If you have $20,000 available, don't put it in a boot camp. Find a good mentor, and I guarantee you it'll be a much better investment.
Any advice on finding a mentor?
Ooh, that's a good one. So the fastest way and the quickest way, but costs money, that I would suggest is my platform. We have an elite mentorship program where you get assigned a mentor and you can speak to them twice a month, on top of a tailored personal coaching program for you, and skill development and all the pro features that we have. And then you also have access to me. The way that I did, and I encourage anyone to do regardless, is ingratiating yourself in community, building relationships, and then over time, you're going to get mentors. I think the thing about mentors is that you're not just going to meet someone today and then they're going to be willing to give you all this advice and meet with you once a week. That's just not how it works. And I know people don't really like that answer, but you have to focus on building relationships. And it's just going to happen naturally. If you focus on building relationships and just learning, and also giving back with your enthusiasm or whatever, you'll find it'll just happen. Like most of my mentors, it wasn't like, hey, I'm your mentor now, or it just happened over time. So focus on building relationships, I would say.
Great advice.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so very much, Kedeisha, for coming on the show and sharing all about your data in motion. If any of the audience has any questions, where can they find and or follow you?
Pretty active on LinkedIn. So if you please, if you send a connection request, please put a personalized note. I could talk about this all day. Please put a personalized note. I read all of them. If you say, "Hey, I saw you on Monica's podcast," I'm gonna accept and I'm gonna respond. If you give me the generic, "Hey, I'm in data, you're in data, we should connect," I'm not gonna accept it. Like, make a personalized note where it makes me feel like, okay, you want to connect with me because you saw me somewhere or you saw my background, whatever it is. But feel free. I'll accept if you send a personalized note. But yeah, you can follow me on LinkedIn.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, again, thank you so much for coming on the show. And as always, folks, happy learning.